Hello all, my name is Ricky and today I'll be sharing with you the graphic novel tag. This is a tag created by Harriet Rose and I was also tagged by Harriet Rose, which is super exciting. And if you guys don't know, I really enjoy graphic novels, so I'm really excited to do this tag. There are 10 questions, so I'm just gonna get right into it. If you're new here, you should subscribe. You can do that by clicking that red button that's floating around the screen right here, and that will notify you when I post a new video. It'll show up in your subscription box. However, if you want to be notified before you even have to sign on to YouTube and look through your subscription box, you can click the little bell dude because he will notify you even sooner than that, as soon as I post a new video, which is super cool. Alright, let's get into the video. Question number 1 is the first graphic novel you read. The first graphic novel I can remember reading is Y the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan, and this is illustrated by Pia Guerra. And I mean, I don't know for sure if this is the first graphic novel I read. I'm sure I read something like as a kid, but this is like the first real graphic novel that I can remember reading and the first series I read from start to finish, and I absolutely love this. If you don't know, Y the Last Man is a story about the last man on Earth. So basically what happens is a biological disease destroys all of the men on the planet with the exception of our protagonist, York Brown, and his monkey Ampersand. They are both male and they are the only male left on the planet, and it's really interesting because even though the story follows the last man on Earth, it is in a world with nothing but women, and it really tackles some interesting concepts because all of the men drop dead at the same time. So it's like planes fell out of the air, like nuclear plants were left unattended, like a good chunk of the government just dropped dead. It was very sudden, and now we have really interesting, crazy, ridiculous things going on. Very post-apocalyptic, different groups of women acting in different ways. It's very interesting, and I really, really loved this, and I really, really love Brian K. Vaughan. You will find that out during the course of this video, I am sure. Question number 2 is your favorite graphic novel. So again, I'm sorry, this is going to be a Brian K. Vaughan graphic novel, but this is my all-time favorite graphic novel I've ever read. It is one trade paperback, so if you're looking to get into graphic novels, I think this is the best way to go because it's like a one-sitting read. You have a complete story, you don't have to wait for new issues, nothing like that. This is written by Brian K. Vaughan and it is illustrated by Nico and Richon, and this is The Pride of Baghdad. In 2003, there was an American raid on Baghdad and a bunch of animals actually escaped the Baghdad Zoo. This is a real thing that happened. So Brian K. Vaughan based this graphic novel on that story. This is basically a pride of lions who escape a zoo, and it's their story, and it's told from the lions' perspective, but it deals very personally with issues and facets of family life and generational gaps and communication barriers and differences between living in different places. Like, the idea is some of these lions were, you know, out in the wild before they were brought into a zoo, and then other generations were born domesticated in a zoo, and, you know, there's this gap between the generations. And it's like very interesting the way Brian K. Vaughan weaves in real human family identity issues within the story of like a pride of lions, and I just absolutely love it. It's also got some really beautiful art. This beautiful like orange tinge in the art is just fabulous. I love it. Also think it's very emotional and gripping, and I was just really interested in what was gonna happen, and I really, really liked it. And so it's my favorite. I guess part of it is that I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. Question number 3 is a graphic novel that disappointed you. I've not talked about, since the 1 month I read it long time ago when I didn't have very many subscribers, I have not mentioned this on my channel at all, and a lot of people love this, so this might come as a surprise to a lot of you. I read Rat Queens Volume 1, I just didn't enjoy it. I found it overly gratuitous and violent and gory for no reason, and I am not opposed to those things if I feel like they have a purpose or are promoting a theme or anything like that. For me, I feel like the themes and the story that they were trying to portray in Rat Queens could have been done without it being this grotesque. Though I understand it's female driven and it's nice to see female can be as grotesque as males, and I get that dynamic, I just don't like it. This just was completely not for me, and I was really disappointed because so many people like it. Question number 4 is a graphic novel you would like to reread, and I would like to reread the Runaway series. This is written by mostly Brian K. Vaughan, and then it was picked up by a couple other authors to finish the run. But basically, I started this because Brian K. Vaughan. I'm a big Brian K. Vaughan fan, if you couldn't tell already. And I never finished it, but amazingly enough, the incredible Rainbow Rowell is going to be picking up Brian K. Vaughan's story plot of Runaways. So it's the complete volume 1, 2, and most of the complete volume 3. And that's about where the Rainbow Rowell story will be picking up. So I'm not going to be reading the author who comes in between Brian K. Vaughan and Rainbow Rowell because that's not part of the continuity that Rainbow Rowell is following, but I do want to reread what I've already read and complete Brian K. Vaughan's run so that I'm all caught up for when Rainbow Rowell's continuation of the story concludes. And if you don't know, Runaways is about a group of teenagers who run away after they find out that their parents are supervillains. And I'm just so into it. Question number 5 is a graphic novel you would recommend to everyone. And this is a graphic novel I recommend to everyone continually. I've bought these graphic novels for friends upon friends upon friends. Manny and I have purchased the first volume of this like probably 4 times because we keep giving our copy away and then having to replace it in our collection. But I love these so much, and I think you should read them, and I think everyone should read them, and they're the Bandette graphic novels. These are written by Paul Tobin and illustrated by Colleen Coover. They are a husband and wife duo, and Bandette follows our main character, Bandette, and Bandette is a superhero thief type girl. She's super cute. The story is set in France, and basically she is a thief, but she steals for great reasons. She steals from villains, people who are planning on stealing items. She steals them and gives them back to museums or things like that. It's just the most precious story you've ever read. There are 3 volumes out so far, but it's gonna continue. This is kind of a side project for Paul and Colleen, but I'm just so in love with this graphic novel series. Bandette is like the cutest thing you've ever seen, so I highly recommend you pick up these. Question number 6 is graphic novel with art you love. So you've probably noticed a theme of my favorite author and have also noticed that there has been a certain graphic novel that has not been on this list so far. And that's because I could not pick it for anything other than this question because it has the best art ever. And that is, of course, the Saga series written by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by the incredible Fiona Staples. What makes Fiona Staples so great is, besides the fact that her art is incredible, is that she does the entire process by herself. Most people have one person who does the outlining, the drawing, another person does the inking and the coloring, and like there's multiple people putting together the art of a graphic novel. Fiona Staples does it all on her own. And she's not the only person who does that, but it's not like this is the case for every graphic novel. And she's incredible at it. Her art is wildly impressive, and let me find some pages for you to see. Look at how vibrant that is. Look at how detailed this is. I just love this. It's so creative, so smart. And Saga, I'm sure you guys know, it's the story of our main characters, Alina and Marco, who have fallen in love, even though they are different species who are on opposite sides of warring planets. It's an epic space opera of sorts, loosely inspired by Romeo and Juliet, and as with many of Brian K. Vaughan's stories, it tackles very important topics about having a family, having a child, and the struggles that come along with that. While they're wildly different than things that might occur in your everyday life, they're very grounded in the idea of like doing anything to protect your family. And these have a lot of gore, have a lot of brutality, have a lot of sexualization. The reason I find it works in Saga over Rat Queens is I find a purpose to this in that it's furthering the story of doing anything for your family. It's also perpetuating how rough, hard, and scary this world is and how vicious this war in this world is, which makes Hazel's growing up process very hard. Hazel is the main character's daughter and also the narrator of the story, so it's very interesting. This currently has 7 volumes. This is the first one. Just as you can see by these covers, the artwork is spectacular. There's just so much detail and layering and creativity and vibrancy, and I love it so much. She is hands down my favorite illustrator currently working in comics and graphic novels. Question number 7 is a graphic novel you wish was a series or you wish was longer. I can't really think of one right now just because there aren't a lot of series that I've at least come to the conclusion of and been dissatisfied with the conclusion. Like, cool, Pride of Baghdad would have been cooler if it was like longer because I love that story, but its conclusion was fantastic, same with Why the Last Man, etc., or their ongoing series. So that's kind of a hard question for me to answer, and I think I'm gonna have to pass on it. Sorry. Question number 8 is a graphic novel that made you laugh. For this one, I'm gonna have to go with Miss Marvel Volume 1. I didn't expect this to be funny. And like, it wasn't like necessarily the funniest thing ever, but because I didn't expect it to be funny, I was laughing a lot during it. It was a great time. Question number 9 is a graphic novel that took you out of your comfort zone. And for this, I'm going with Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. I picked this one because this is the first graphic memoir I read. Technically, that's a lie because I read Math Volume 1 and 2, but I don't technically count them, and this was so good, and I'm just so glad I finally read it because I've been meaning to for ages. Question number 10 is a graphic novel on your TBR or wish list. I have quite a few graphic novels on my TBR. I'm going to show you a few as quickly as I can, including the graphic memoir Persepolis. I have Volume 1 and 2, which is the entire Persepolis series. I also have Wires and Nerves by Marissa Meyer. This is a continuation of the Lunar Chronicles series. I really need to read this. Also need to read Lucky Penny, which was purchased for me by Manny when he went to a trip to Brooklyn, and it's signed by the authors and it just looks super cute and I really want to read it. And finally, I really want to read the Alex and Ada graphic novel series, which is a trilogy of graphic novels which I have out from the library right now, and this basically follows a guy and his robot artificial intelligence kind of thing. I think that's what it is. I don't know, I've heard great things about it though, and I'm really excited to read them. There's so many other items on my TBR for graphic novels, but these are the top of them, so we're gonna stop the list there because I could go on forever. So that is all for today's video. If you enjoyed this, you should give it a thumbs up. You should also subscribe, like I said. If you're new here, subscribing is great. You should also comment down below and let me know what's a TBR graphic novel for you, and if you're into graphic novels, what's your favorite graphic novel? Mine is most definitely Pride of Baghdad. It's just glorious. I'm gonna tag some people. I'm gonna tag Clara over at Clara Reads, and you, if you have been meaning to talk about graphic novels like I have and are super excited about this tag, you should do it. And that's all for today, so I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Baby, I beg you, yeah.